Boa tarde, boa tarde. Estamos ao vivo aqui. Canal Engenharia com Ciência. Vamos ver quem está online. Tem muita gente ainda, não tem ninguém. Bom, essa é a nossa última participação aqui nesse modelo, né, de aulas públicas online da nossa disciplina de Tecnologia e Sociedade nesse ano de 2020, né, após termos passado por essas dificuldades devido à pandemia de Covid-19 e chegando aí algumas pessoas, né, nós hoje vamos fazer uma atividade diferente aqui. Nós vamos, na verdade, ter um evento trazido, produzido e conduzido por alunos da disciplina, né? Nas últimas semanas, os alunos estiveram apresentando os trabalhos desenvolvidos na disciplina, né? E a ideia desse momento aqui é exatamente que eles conduzam esse evento, né? Onde nós vamos estar discutindo uma temática que foi discutida, que foi trabalhada ao longo da disciplina, que tem a ver com os trabalhos do futuro, tem a ver com as tecnologias do futuro. Olá, Bruno, boa tarde. Boa tarde aí a quem está chegando, né? Nós vamos dando início aqui, porque esse stream está sendo gravado, então a gente depois vai deixar disponível para quem quiser assistir, né? Exatamente. Então, a Jéssica hoje, né, é a líder aí desse grupo que vai apresentar, né, e ela vai explicar um pouco melhor, na verdade, por que eles decidiram trabalhar esse tema, e o nosso convidado principal também, né, que vai fazer uma pequena apresentação e discutir com a gente essa temática, né, das tecnologias de smart cities, tecnologias de internet das coisas, indústria, tudo, como é que isso vai revolucionar o nosso mundo daqui para frente. Boa tarde, Nayane. Então, gente, sem mais demora, né, eu vou primeiramente convidar a equipe, tá, que está representada hoje aqui pela Jéssica Martins e o Raul Feitosa, e eles vão explicar um pouco melhor para vocês como é que as coisas vão funcionar. Boa tarde, Jéssica. Boa tarde, Raul.
Oi, Stephano.
Oi.
Então, eu começo em português ou em inglês?
Pois é, não tinha nem falado, né, mas essa é uma novidade também, o nosso convidado é estrangeiro, né, então essa live, ela vai acontecer majoritariamente em inglês, tá, gente? Posteriormente, a gente espera estar legendando para que todo mundo possa, né, para ficar mais acessível, mas hoje, para quem está assistindo aqui ao vivo, ela vai acontecer em inglês. Eu acho que você podia explicar rapidinho, Jéssica, em português mesmo, e aí você apresenta o Roland, e aí a gente passa a falar em inglês.
Tá, mas eu preciso só depois falar um pouco só para introduzir o Roland também, o que está acontecendo.
Claro.
Estevam, deixa eu já começar em inglês, que eu acho que vai ficar melhor para todo mundo.
Então, eu vou fazer o seguinte, eu vou deixar vocês aqui, tá, à vontade na sala, tá? Presente o Roland, passe logo para o inglês, porque ele vai entender a gente, tá? E eu vou estar aqui assistindo vocês, na primeira fila da sala, certo? Se precisar de mim, é só chamar.
Okay. So, hello everyone, good afternoon or good morning. Don't know exactly where you are. So, my name is Jessica Martins. I'm a student of Renewable Energy Engineering at UFC, so Federal University of Ceará. And today we are finalizing, we are doing a project with Technology and Society discipline, in which we have the objective to bring some contents about a subject in which would be important to the society. So that's why you chose IoT. So some of you maybe doesn't know, or maybe you know. I would like to also I would like to know it from you. If you could let some information on the chat. Have you seen this technology before? Are you aware about what projects you can do with IoT? So we can say that it's Internet of Things. And the reason why we want to discuss this today is to bring more content about the sustainability and how we can deploy this type of solutions on smart cities. Those are really interesting topics on those days, since we have seen so much effort to decarbonize and also to change this reality, right? To become, let's say, more environmental. And yeah, so we'll just share a little bit my screen to show the screen. Okay, just a second. No, it's this. Sorry. So
What do you want to do, Jessica?
Oh, I think now I got it. I just wanted to share the screen. Can you see my screen?
Wait.
There, bringing value to a smart city for smart city. Okay. So as I mentioned before, today we will discuss about this topic, bringing value for a smart city through IoT. And this is the team in which you have bring some more contents about this. We are from different engineerings, and it was a good thing because it could merge our knowledge. I'm more in the background of renewable energy, and Raul and Danielle are more related to computer science, and Stephano mechanical engineering. So it was a good moment to share knowledge. And here is just a bit of this concept applying to in Brazil. As I mentioned before, what would be IoT? Then we call IoT as Internet of Things, and it applies for, let's say, sensors that can connect all the things that you have around you. So since you have, let's say, a house, and then you can connect your whole kitchen through sensors, and you can have more data on this kitchen. So let's say you want to, when your fridge are almost empty, you want to know what you would like to buy or in advance, so your fridge will send you a message. So this is more or less the concept of IoT and connected things in order to give more insight about the things in which you have. And so we have seen this applied for many industries. In Brazil, isn't different. There are a lot of expectations on the private sector. Here you can see some numbers about it. In Brazil, it's estimated to grow 20% per year until 2020. It was data from Brazilian Association of Software Companies and the Global Data Consulting Research Company. So, and here we can see which sectors could drive this technology here in Brazil. But today I would be more interested to focusing on smart cities and why Internet of Things is so important to guarantee sustainability. And now I would like to invite our special guest to talk more about this. He's a global leader in a smart city. I'm just, okay. Please, Roland. Hello. Stephano?
Yeah.
Can you share then Roland screen?
Do you mean Roland? Do you want to invite him here?
Yes, yes, yes.
Sorry, Roland. So it's here. I'm going to remove the guys, Raul, Stephano. What's happening? Why?
Some live problems, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. So, as I was mentioned today, it's a pleasure to have you here, Roland. Please give you a short introduction about yourself to our attendance today. And yeah, I hope you really enjoyed the conversation with Roland and take some really nice insights from what he has to share with us.
Yeah.
Okay, Roland, are you mute?
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
There.
Yes, I can. Yeah, I can see.
No, I'm not on mute.
Okay.
I was just asking if you could see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Let me know if you can see my screen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then thank you, Jessica. And let me start. Yeah, as you were saying, I will talk about smart cities and sustainability. Just share and with you. First, I want to give an intro about myself and about the company I'm working for, Ethos. Then I will talk about what are smart cities and IoT and how they are related. And I will also zoom in on sustainability and maybe more specific on decarbonization. And at the end, if you have any questions or comments, we can use the end of this session for any kind of Q&A, questions and answer, and maybe any kind of discussions you would like to have. All right. So let me do a quick intro of myself. My name is Roland Haeve. I'm originally from the Netherlands. I'm working for many, many years already for my current company, Ethos. I am now part of the global IoT practice. And I was also former the CEO of Atos North America Public. And I was and I am responsible for our smart cities portfolio in this regard in relationships to IoT. I'm also a international thought leader and speaker, and especially in my fields of expertise, which is also information management. I'm Dutch, but I'm already living for more than 5 years now in Houston, Texas, USA. So there you see in the background a part of my work office here in my house. So let me talk about a little bit about Ethos itself. Ethos is a very large IT solution and service provider, and we are even the largest in Europe. In overall, on a global level, we think around fourth largest, beside the probably also known names everywhere in the world, like the IBMs and the Accentures in the world. We have 12 billion euro annual revenue, so it's quite a big company. We have around 120,000 experts globally in around 73 countries. And we are known, especially here in the Americas, under different names. So beside Ethos, as you can see here in the middle of the screen, we have also are known as Ethos Syntel, Unify, and also Maven Wave. And especially by acquisition, our company is growing in terms of size. And we also especially proud to be the worldwide IT partner of the Olympic and Paralympic Games. So every time you see, next year in Tokyo 2021, we will see the next summer and a year later also Winter Games as well, due to known reasons. Everything you see during the Olympic is the broadcasting, is the security, is the accreditations, is the information coming in the stadiums, in the different venues, or even information for the journalists or sport commenters, are all done by us, and of course with the help of local technology partners, depending on where we are in the world. So very large company, very large big name, but maybe you might not have heard of it, and hopefully this will help you to at least identify us as a company. It's not only that I'm saying that, but thank God that's also perceived and validated by, very known analysts in the world, like the Forresters and the IDCs and the Gartners. And you see, especially because of the topic of today, smart cities and IoT, that, in recent positioning of our company, we are known as a global leader and a huge player in this area. And we are proud to be recognized like that. So let me talk about smart cities and IoT. And Jessica already mentioned it, but let me give you a couple of definitions what we are talking about. So first, if we talk about smart cities and we talked about the characteristics, I think it's also good to know the different definitions are there. The first definition we see here, I think, is one I like, one of the most, to be honest. And I will just read it out. A smart city is an urban area that uses different types of electronic methods and sensors to collect data. Insights gained from that data are used to manage assets, resources, and services efficiently. In return, that data is used to improve the operations across the city, but also the monetization of it as well. So this is give a good element of what cities, on a worldwide scale, try to achieve from their specific initiatives they want to achieve. And of course, that's different from location, by geographical, by area where the city is placed, but also about the stakeholders, mostly a mayor or commissions, which are leveraging what is more important. Is it about, better infrastructure or better traffic flow through the city or less crime? So every element, every city would have different focus and priorities which we have. We have two other statements, kind of definitions as well here on the same slide. And one is these two are very interesting. It says, a smart city is able to sense and respond to its challenges using natural and artificial intelligence embedded in the city's information systems. So it gives also the link to aspects which are happening, crises, other elements, but also newer aspects for technology. And the last one, which we are seeing here, cities that focus only on improving technology systems and neglect the need for sustainability will easily become obsolete. So another statement which is very interesting. So it means also that cities have to think about as well how to be sustainable, how to think about, for example, decarbonization, and be able to run cities like that. So two other statements, because we talk not only about smart cities, but also IoT, Internet of Things. You will also see sometimes IoT, industrial IoT, but in essence, it's more or less the same. And that is the Internet of Things describes a network of physical objects, things, that are embedded with sensors, software, and other technologies for the purpose of connecting and exchanging data with other devices and systems over the internet. So with other words, very simplistically, bottom line, any device which is connected to the internet. So it refers to billions and billions of devices like, our own smartphones, which you all have, in the connection you have, if you have your location on, for example, or you have your connection with Wi-Fi, your phone is one of an IoT device which is connected and which will participate within an IoT network by, for example, sharing your location, or where you made a particular photo, by the embedding of the location you have and the date, etc. So it's thanks to that and the arrival of super cheap computers, computer chips, and the ubiquity of wireless networks that we are able to do so. So how do we Atos look at a smart city? We are looking it as the embedding and the challenge cities have, not only for citizens, but also for city officials, to create the best possible environment possible. But if we say citizens, we mean also companies who wants to come to a city and establish their company and attract workforce. So it's talking about safety, smart mobility, going back to work, education, caring, make it attractive to come. So in essence, a pleasant place to visit and live and work. That is all the elements we want to bring in as services, which we can bring to the table. So Atos' approaches here is to create ready-to-use service for smart cities IoT use cases and to enable that platform. So it's more or less end-to-end. So not only all the IoT devices, but also the platform and the different technology to support that, plus all the use cases based on the previous slide, which I have shown. And of course, elements like security, end-to-end integration, data privacy, GDPR, global data privacy regulations are very important to be integrated of that. And of course, the ability to pay for it, to be reusable, but also to monetize it. Let me quickly check if I'm still online and you can still hear and see me. If Jessica or Stephano can validate that, it would be great.
Yeah, you're
okay. Perfect. just checking here. So what is influencing a city? There's a lot of elements which are influencing the city. So it could be new legislations, of course, trust in governments, and we see that in all over the world. If they are bringing all these video cameras in there, and we see that for London, you have to be aware there's one camera in London for each 70 person on average in London. And that was not only because of the Olympic Games, which were there and they want to check, but it is one of the most video surveillance cities in the world. So that gives you an idea of what it is. So you have to be very transparent. What are you doing with all this camera imaging and what is the purpose of it? But also other elements like economic situation, budget, the growing of citizens in areas where cities are especially growing, and of course sustainability as well. It's all about the fact that if you want to have these initiatives, you have to be a data-driven city, because all the IoT elements which are integrated will stream data, and that data and the integration of that data make it happen to create additional value adds. So if we are rethinking our cities, and probably that will happen after COVID-19, right? That has changed, in essence, the whole world. But if we are rethinking our city, and I like this picture, and that's why I put it here for National Geographic, we are seeing that cities are not only expanding, but have to think also about how to make the balance in greenery, as you see in this picture, but also the growth of the city, the infrastructure, and how people and cars are moving. In the past, and we still see that cities are growing in this way, right? A little bit up, like the buildings we are seeing here. But you will see in the future, and probably your children will see that cities will also grow in different layers, which we see maybe in futuristic movies nowadays. Now we have cars using highways and streets to go on. We already have the technology like drone technology, flying cars technology, to also move not only over highways, but also maybe through air in the near future as well. And we probably will see that maybe with the Uber, options, which we see with drones. So it means also cities will also grow in layers as well, how we are moving through the cities. And cities have then absolutely the challenge to think about what is about the density itself, the space where the city is maybe limited to, but also more people coming and work and live in the city. But it could also be transit, health and wellness, housing, back to work, resilience. I'm living in Houston. Besides COVID-19, Houston has to, cope with flooding, Katrinas, hurricanes, energy outages, but also the fact of water management. So there's a whole lot of things where cities will be coping with as well, as we see that our planet is changing as well. That will influence the way how we have to cope and act and invest in the cities to make that all possible. And last but not least, of course, sustainability or decarbonization. How can we make sure that we are able to sustain in terms of all the resources you need to be sustainable as well? So there's a lot of critical focus areas for cities. I will not mention them all, so you can see them later on if you like. So one of course, is the experience itself, or customer experience in general, what we see for citizens, but also cities officials, is to understand who is living here in a city. Do I have a good idea what my citizens need, what my city's officials need? So what kind of services is most important? What are the priorities in here? It could also be in operational excellence, about the different processes. If you need a change and want to rebuild your house or add a third floor on your house, you need permits. How is it easy to get that process in place, etc., etc. So operational excellence, very important other focus area for cities. Like also a business reinvention. And sorry, I see the end is moved to the third line there. Is also the increase of the responsiveness to crisis. And we see that nowadays, especially now with COVID-19 and the different political figures who are running the different cities, how are they coping with that? Are hospitals, prepared? Are hospitals prepared for a COVID 2.0, a COVID 10.0 for that matter, or any other disease, pandemic? And maybe this sounds silly, but maybe we get, very strange diseases and we get zombies coming to our cities. That's maybe, bringing a smile to your face. But in essence, who had thought COVID-19 will hit the world as it did? So anything can happen, right? So how can you act and be prepared for any crisis coming up? And how can you be more adaptive and more agile for now and in the future? And of course, last of and not least is trust and compliance. Of course, when we are gathering data, if we are using IoT devices to bring that in and create new services, create value add and make living in a city better, of course, always the question will be about data privacy. How is then the security or cybersecurity set up, and how will that affect me as an individual? We saw a lot of things what Facebook have done in the past, Google has done. If you search something or maybe say something at your home and you maybe have these devices like Alexa or cameras or any kind of connected thermostats in your home. I have them, for example. If I say something in my house and Alexa is hearing and I'm then searching for something, then have the idea that Google already know what I'm looking for. And that's, of course, not a coincidence. So it's also misused here and there a little bit. So we have to be aware as well is how are you coping with IoT devices as well? On your phone and on your laptops where you are probably behind, we have this camera, you can see me. But I know there's a lot of people who has this little, things in front of camera to close it, just to make sure that these cameras are not activated from somewhere else and be able to invade your privacy or hear you or see you or whatever that is. So on one hand, very nice potential there, what can bring in, but always every advantages come also with some disadvantages. So we always have to be aware about our own data protection and data privacy as well. So there are pillars for successful implementation, but first we have to talk about the areas first. I like the slide of Jessica about the enormous growth Brazil will probably go through in terms of the potential IoT can bring in from an IT perspective and how much money will be invested from these different areas. And I'm showing here some information here from McKinsey. Some of the information is a little bit older, so probably some of these values will be a little bit more, but it gives you a nice range here. Autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles will be a huge market. Just be aware. I'm not sure how old you all are this time, but probably when you are going to buy your really first nice car, the chance will be very, very big that you are not going for a fossil car, fusion engine car anymore, but you go for an electrical car, right? So these cars nowadays, modern cars are connected, have Wi-Fi connection in there, are able to communicate with apps to close your car, to see the engine, see the status and pressure of your tires, etc., etc. We see also in other areas smart homes. Homes and universities will becoming more like fully smart campuses. You can print from your phone. You can access all your documentation. Campus, university security knows where all the students are. If there is a gunshot detection, information can send out to your mobile phone and say the people with a gun are in that area of the university, move the other way or whatever. So there's so much technology out there where connected buildings, homes, universities, and company buildings have these abilities now to be smarter in terms of using of energy. Think about the sensors. You walk in a room, a sensor detects you and the lights go on. If you go out, the lights go off. It sounds very simplistic, but it will help definitely in cost, but also in sustainability and decarbonization as well. So we see it also with connected vessels, which we see here. Healthcare. I'm not sure how many people already have a smart watch on, maybe even the latest iPhone Watch Series 6, which can, have a lot of health issue checks, oxygen checks, your heartbeat, any kind, how many steps you have taken, etc., etc. So there's a whole lot of areas where IoT come in place. So not only in cities as I am focusing right now, but it's more or less in all areas which we are seeing. So it's about managing the software, the visualization of these objects, but also where it runs as well. So we are working in technology where it can run into the cloud or maybe on-premise itself. So the technology can even run in your university, in your campus, or maybe, as a hybrid solution, partly on-site and partly in the cloud. And cloud could also be different cloud providers as well, and we will call that multi-cloud services as well. So if we focus on all these areas, what are the 8 pillars for successful implementation? We see here the 8 pillars on the screen. So it's not only IoT, it's also everything around security, cybersecurity, the place where it runs, hybrid or multi-cloud, how you deal and act and process the data, because the data can come in streaming, in batch, real time, near real time, etc. How we analyze the data, how we access the data, and also the access management for it, who can see what, just very simplistically to explain it, and of course the monetization of it as well, and the financing of it. How do you finance all these initiatives you want to have as a city or in any area, which we saw in the previous slide? And of course, how can we manage all things? How can we manage if we are going to billions and billions of IoT devices worldwide? How are you able to manage this all and see if all these devices are working in a correct way, or add just another IoT device? Could be a camera, could be a connected car, could be a phone or whatever. So these are the 8 pillars to make a successful aspect into it. And of course, a communication network is needed to make sure the data will go as an interoperable platform where you can not only process data, but also share the data over the network, over the different platform, over the different devices as well, to make sure you can create those use cases and those value adds. Of course, there's a whole lot different layers behind that. I will just only show one layer behind it, and later on during the presentation you will see a little bit more detailed reference architecture where you see where all these building blocks of such a IoT platform has to understand how these things can all work together. So we have the multiple IoT platforms, the security services, on-premise or in cloud. Make sure that the engineering is done. Could be analytics, could even be analytics at the edge, compute power on the location itself. So if you see, for example, a camera and you see a little box beside it, it might be that in that box compute power is there, and that it's edge computing, which we have there. And of course, they are all linked to the different use cases or value adds you want to create. So what if, and I do this a little bit the same as Apple Watch is doing in advertisement, and maybe you have seen it on the television. But what if IoT can reduce crime in your city? It can. What if IoT can reduce CO2 reduction in your city? It can. What if your IoT mobile smart device or connected car can interact with your surrounding and can avoid any collision, or can support by helping your vehicle to drive to the right-hand emergency lane and avoid any kind of collision and inform 911 or 112 to inform you have a medical situation? It can. IoT can also create safer traffic solutions and situations, and I will show you later on some of these use cases which are already created, implemented, and rolled out. What if IoT lets you know how current pollutions are out there? And if I talk about pollution, this is not only air pollution, I'm also talking about sound pollution, for example. If you live in an area and there's sound from traffic, sound from neighbors, sound from companies, sound from maybe construction around you, that sound is a huge sound pollution impact on you as a human being. And we have seen that, for example, people who have lived during a certain time in a war zone, sound could influence you very, very deeply in terms how you act, react, and how your health will be as an individual. But also, IoT and data streams can give you new insights. Absolutely, because you are able to integrate those different data streams and make that sure. So if data streams come in from a video surveillance camera, you combine with AI modeling, which allows you to do face recognition or object recognition, that software can help you to say if a dangerous situation will take place, or that person is a person of interest for whatever kind of reason. Or maybe very simplistically, the camera is there, you are a student, you are accessing a parking lot or the campus by itself and recognize you as a active student on the campus, it will allow you to just enter that premises and go your way. Also, IoT can make your home smarter. I already give you some examples on that. Of course, it can. And also, IoT can make healthcare more efficient. We talk about the smart watches. And IoT can also address COVID-19. Let's say you allow an app, and I'll take my phone again, for an app where it says I opt in on the fact that that app, that software allows me to track where I'm going, how I travel, maybe by plane or through the city or whatever. And if everyone does that, and you add in your phone, oh, I have tested myself on COVID and I'm infected. Then the software can check with whom were you in the proximity and can send information to the other persons to say, oh, you were, in so many feet away from someone who was infected. This will allow you to get informed and make sure that if you get any kind of symptoms, you can have check yourself, or maybe even go in quarantine, or have that information, be aware that maybe people in your personal surroundings might be in higher risk, for example, elderly people. And how can IoT make you as a student smarter? I leave that question up to you, and maybe that might be a question we can discuss at the end of this session, and hopefully you have some ideas where you think IoT by itself, based on technology or as a use case, can make you as a student smarter. So you have enough time at least to think about that. So keep that in the back of your mind. And of course, there are many more cases out there. What if is possible?
Hey, Roland.
Yes, go ahead.
No, just to say that we are here. Listen to you. Don't feel alone. Okay.
Okay. I just want to make sure that my connection is still running and you can hear me.
Very great slide. You just presented.
Okay.
And I think we should come back to it in the end to discuss a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in here a little bit about the technology as well. We as a company, but we see it, throughout out there in the market. We have our platforms, and we call it Atos Urban Data Platform, where we run our IoT elements on it for smart cities. We have more technology out there. This one is based on open source, which is also very interesting for universities as well. Why? It's for free. So you don't have to pay any license costs. You can play with it, you can download, you can install it and work with it. And Fireware is the foundation which allows this to do. And Fireware has different stakeholders in there, not only us as a company, but many more, which allows us to bring in the standards based on open source, where every city or everyone who is interested in it can use that platform to support the initiative you as a city might have. So that's interesting to know. And this is done based on this reference architecture. I mentioned already to you that I will share this. I will try to explain this very simplistically. You see here the different layers here stacked up. So the lowest layer here, we see all the IoT devices. Could be drones, could be edge computers, could be cameras or whatever. These are connected to Fireware as a framework and platform. Also, any kind of system or other information sources, could be a database, could be social networks, could be Facebook, could be, anything which has data in it and available to integrate and data feed this platform. And of course, also different solutions could be, use case for giving and generating value at like smart parking or air quality or whatever. So these are all connected mostly with APIs, application program interfaces, or pieces of software which can communicate with this and make sure that the interaction between the engine itself, which is the layer above, can be done. So all this data like location, or maybe a citizen ID, or bus number, or capacity, or a date, are all coming from these different sources and be brought together and stored maybe in a storage. Could be, for example, Hadoop, which is more like a big data storage environment where the data is done, or be integrated with applications like business intelligence tools or whatever, geographical information system, to generate visualizations or dashboards, or just very simple mappings to understand how to move from A to B. Probably use Google Maps or Google Waze or whatever to find your way in a daily matter, or maybe AI algorithms, which helps to identify something and trigger a certain action. So all these elements are here in the front end, and we have also a marketplace here as well, the same which we have on our phone, where we download and search for applications to create those value adds as well, and the integration with security and any kind of standards to make it a whole solution. And this is open source, as mentioned. That means also that everyone can, when you are part of the Fiverr Foundation, can participate in additional building blocks to create new value adds, new solutions, or new aspects in there. So I do just one zoom in there, and you see here some of these open source building blocks like MongoDB or Progress or whatever, or PostSQL, or elements as we see here below. All these building blocks have the ability to cover a certain functionality. It could maybe say processing the data, analyze the data, an environment to store the data, etc., etc., etc. So all these building blocks can be accessed and be used the same as, Microsoft Office or 360, Word to do work formatting, PowerPoint to create a presentation, etc. And as mentioned, this can be run in principle anywhere or a combination of that. So this Fiverr is running already in a lot of cities throughout the world, not only done by us, by the way, with a lot of other vendors and solution providers which is out there. So there are already more than 170 cities in 24 countries which adopted this, and I highlighted here one is Rio de Janeiro. Atos has done there the Olympic Games when the Olympics were there, and we use also the platform itself to support some of the services we want to do for the city itself. Or it could be, sharing information about different venues, or it could be, for example, AR, VR, like how is beach volleyball going is one of the events in the Olympic Games. So all these aspects, depending on where in the city you are looking at, have different use cases, different value adds. For example, I will mention one more. In the airports in Spain, they have, for example, smart bathrooms or restrooms or whatever you want to call it. And they have sensors in the soap dispensers, how many people come into a restroom or bathroom, to understand, if the rules and are used in terms of COVID-19, so many people at the same time in a small room, or the sensor would be easy to identify if the soap is getting empty, and make sure that the experience people have on the airport is as optimized as possible. And if something is getting out of, could be paper towels, could be the soap, then the sensor will generate an action item for someone to go in there and refill that stuff they need. So we do that also, like very simplistic setups in our own, what we call BTICs, our business technology innovation centers, which we have throughout the world. We have, for example, in Paris and here in the US and in Dallas. We have solutions like Smart Light, coming from different other third-party vendors. So you can imagine if something happens by, maybe a crime is detected and you have smart lights coming on, the light will go up and also have a more higher intensity of light. So it will light up the area, which will not only hopefully scare away the people who are doing their bad things, but also will help law enforcement who are coming in to have a better view what is going on. So we have also solutions like our own ad servers, which we have, our own phones, and Atos has also our own emergency management and command and control systems with NG 911, and also the ability to do own video surveillance with AI. Sorry for this typo here. So different point-to-point solutions which can be integrated whatever is needed. These technologies coming in essence, doesn't matter who is delivering that, but it has to generate that value add which a city is looking for. And that will give that IoT and smart cities that value add, but also the advantage to maybe think, oh, that might be a nice city to work or have my company in there as well. So it's also about the integration and the connected intelligence which you can bring in. So let me show you how that works here. So we see here video surveillance camera in a city. The camera is not only have the ability to see is a truck coming in or a car, how many axles do we see there, but also to see what object that is. So the software is able to understand, is this truck allowed to be on any of these lanes here, or has he only allowed to be on the left or right lane, depending on which angle, of course, you look at with your camera. Or we can see here on the right-hand side that the camera is not only seeing people moving, but also see an object of a car parking there. The question is even this car allowed to be parked in the city center where people are, going from shop to shop and buying stuff? Or here, our people are using the right flow of traffic. We see a roundabout and people are going on the right way. Or maybe is there a dangerous traffic situation going on here, which we see on the left-hand side. So cameras, software, and the combination will allow us to do a lot of things here to create value add. Let me show you a very particular one which we have done in one of the cities in the Netherlands, where we created not only dashboards but also the integration of different IoT elements in there to make the city safer. So they have screenshots to understand, cycling stations or heat map of apps moving around the city, or real-time bus traffic, how the buses are going through the city itself. It will allow them to understand what is going on in my city. So a couple of projects we have done in the city, which is called the City of Eindhoven. It's a city in the Netherlands. And very coincidentally, that's also the city where I did all my education. So we see here a part of the city on the left-hand side. And this IoT will help me to understand the movement of bicycles. As you know, the Netherlands is a lot of uses of bicycles, and reporting how bicycles are going, where they are parked, where they are used, the prediction of recommendation, the speed which is best be used in combination of bicycles, so cars versus bicycles versus pedestrians, the counts of that, and how can I adjust my infrastructure in that way so that it's safe for all traffic users which I have into the city. So it's a very nice example there for traffic city safety which we have. Another one in the same city, and you see the URL if you want to have more information about it later on, which tell about city alarms and security prevention. So what law enforcement police have there is the integration of different sensors, not only cameras, but also sound sensors, integration of social networks, and it will allow them, if maybe groups of soccer players want to meet and fight, they see on social media that they, trying to communicate with each other, so they can act even and prevent things of happening, or maybe even things going to happen very negatively. They can act accordingly and make sure that that situation is not even going to happen. So they can already forecast and predict or react accordingly to situations and solve them, or even de-escalate them before a user issue will happen. So it's a benefit not only for the people who are there in such a situation, but also from a cost element as well, to make the city a safer place. By the way, this city is in general a pretty safe city. But I will show you something which were happening for sound sensors. Maybe you are not aware that sound sensors will give you a lot of ability here. A sound sensor will not only allow you to understand if a bicycle passed by, but can also understand what sound it is. Is it a car? Or maybe is it a bus coming by? And is that bus passing? And sound can also understand if maybe something technical is wrong with that bus. So sound sensors nowadays are very high tech, can not only understand audio and speech, but can also understand what the audio is doing. And of course, the integration of all audio will allow me to understand how sound pollution is going on into the city or throughout the city during time as well. Let me show you from the previous slide how law enforcement in that same city is allowing to act based on all these sensors coming together and created value add which is there. So this is an aggression detection which is going on in a street where a lot of bars and people coming by. I will put the sound a little bit lower. We blur the video here, and this is real imaging from a number of years ago, where we see that people coming out of bars and clubs, you know, around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. A lot of students are there, and you know, people coming out. You see people are cleaning the street here, you know, glass and paper and cans or whatever is there, and make sure the street is you know, clean again. You see the sound sensors detecting all people moving, talking, and what's going on. But yeah, because of, you know, intoxication or uses of whatever, there might also be, you know, aggressive behavior going on. We see that happening right now. You see people are trying to fight, push each other, you know, try to hit. The sensors are detecting this. The sound sensors going on. It gives a signal where this happens. It will send a signal to law enforcement. Law enforcement will act and say, police force to move to that location. And you will see how many seconds it takes when law enforcement coming. And you see more people are getting involved. You know, people like to do. Another pedestrian notifies the police, and police are coming in here. This is the people here with the yellow vests are coming there. And they will, you know, act on the situation in there. More police are coming. A little bit more than we normally used to there. And we even see police on horseback rides, right? They are trying to do crowd control here and say, okay, let's try to keep the groups, you know, as calm as possible and make sure the whole situation is getting de-escalated and make sure that everyone is coming home safely without any incidents going on. So within 25 seconds, when the incident happens, police is coming and de-escalate the situation here there. So this is a good example how IoT, different sensors and platform can work to create and value add. So to give you a very brief idea how this platform is working, I will show you later on a second technology and I will do a live demo on that. This will be Fireware. You log in, you see the different mappings. Then you can see the statistics about maybe pollutions, could be sound pollution, air pollution. We can see the statistics and information about the different sensors. My apologies that different screens are maybe a little bit small here, but it will show you the warning and the status and the battery of the sensors which are activated. We see maybe a bicycle or e-bike forecast, when it is used, when, on which place it was used and dropped. So we can see how buses are driving, what the status are, which our buses are operational or have an accident reported. So the platform will give the integration of IoT devices, integrate the data streams in that, and use that for the use cases you want to do. Could be crime detection and act on that. Could be traffic flow from the buses. It could be air pollution or whatever. So it could be an integration of different use cases you have. So another platform which we have, and I don't want to bother you too much in that, but I just want to show you how not only how the theory works, but how that works in practice as well. This is another platform. We call it the ATOS Codex Data Platform, which allows use cases like smart city authorities, connected buses, emerging vehicles, etc., based on partly open source, based on Red Hat OpenShift technology, but also the standards which is there, like machine-to-machine connections, European American transportation standards which are there, to make sure that all elements which we have there out there in the world are allowed to incorporate in this platform and can be used. So it's not only the standards, it's also the ability to create standardizations and a platform as a service element to bring everything together. And this is a very advanced platform where not only the supervision of the IoT objects can be done, but also the different use cases can be used and or added, mostly without that many coding, including AI models and machine learning models as well. So we see here a supervision screenshot where real-time information comes in. We see what the IoT device bringing as a contextualization of information and bring that as a report or presentation of that IoT device. As mentioned, we can also bring in AI and machine learning, and the combination of a platform, IoT, big data, any form of data, machine learning models and AI models combined will generate even more value adds and are able to be interoperable with each other and make sure that that additional value add can be created. And that is a huge step forward. To give an example, for Coca-Cola, we have more than 600,000 coolers, which are maybe in gas station, whatever, integrated in such a platform to understand who's taking what drink, how is the fillings of a cooler in there, etc. Or maybe of one of the largest theme parks in the world, where you have a mouse with big round ears running. We are checking how the different rides are doing there to make sure that the experience of people who are coming to such a theme parks have the best possible experience. So if something will break down or is happening to be breakdown, that kind of sensors will identify that and make sure that that information are shared and act upon that before things will really happen and influence not only a dangerous situation, but also the experience itself by people using that different rides. Okay, let me give you a demo how that looks like. I'm going here and switch over to my browser, and let me ask here if you can see this screen as well. So if someone can verify that you are seeing my screen, that will be great. Can you see the Codex data platform here?
Yeah, it's great. We are seeing
Perfect.
it.
All right. I will not tell too much, but I will show you live now. And if something goes wrong here, I apologize, but probably not. We see here on the left-hand side on our platform here, but it will show you an IoT platform in general. Because
I can put it full screen if you want, like this.
I'm not in full screen.
No, yeah. Actually, we have those small squares here, but like this. Yes, you have full screen, but now your screen is full on YouTube.
Okay, but that's fine. That is also my purpose. So if you just see the screen, that is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we see here on the left-hand side a menu where we have these different abilities, which are, the different use cases, I would say, which you can see from an IoT platform. And in this case, they have chosen to choose a home screen where different core services are there. We see, for example, device plug and play, so management of IoT devices, or example, incident management. And if I scroll down, I see also verticals like smart mobility or solar street lights or air quality to show that information. So I will show you some of these elements, how that will look like live. And I could have done the same thing by clicking here also here on the left side. So let me click here in the screen on air quality. I click on that, and I also will click here on this checkbox to show different sensors. So in this case, we see different sensors here in Europe, or more specific here, France, or if I zoom in, even more specifically, Paris. So we, by zooming in, you see the different colors here and different regions which we have here. And I click on one, and I can see not only green and orange light, but that reddish purple information will show that my air quality is less. So if you have a school or your university or your campus there, and maybe you have issues with your lungs or whatever, you can see on your own app, on your own phone, is it maybe wise to go outside today because of the quality index information which I have here. So that will give you a good idea of what is going on, to just check the different sensors. We'll show you another example. I know it's not super spectacular, but I will do solar street lights. Let me zoom here in on Brazil. There are some sensors here, and I click two sensors here. I click on that, and I see two sensors, solar sensors, and I click on that, and I see what the different information is about here. So alarm status is none, so it's working, and it have that information. Or maybe example tracking here on the left-hand side, how different vehicles, connected vehicles, are going through my city. Let's say I will choose the bus of Marseille. I click on that. I see the city of Marseille in France, and I see the different buses moving around. I can make the time zone, instead of real time, I can say, let me show every minute how the real time vehicles are going. It have to show me every minute a movement of these buses going on. And probably if I zoom in, you might maybe see buses really moving. Not sure if I saw this one moving, but anyway, it gives you an idea how that's going. So here on the left-hand side, I also have, options like statistics. And of course, in a dashboard and visualization tool, you expect to see that. Let me choose here a larger range of information. I'll choose 2019 to 2020. I do search, and information coming up by driver's functionality, and where he has crossed. And of course, I can show this in difficult graphical information. I see here how many CO2 is used. I can show it also, of course, in other visualizations as well. And that is the way, an IT platform with different elements can be a value add, not only for citizens, but also for city officials as well. So I can do plug and play here. I can do add asset management. I can put in new rules, do supervision, or I can do incident management. For example, I do an alarm, and I can create alarms here, or a mission. I don't see any agents information here, but anyway, that's fine. And here I have to come down here. I can also do server administration as well. Who can see what here within this platform? So I just want to show you this very briefly, so you have an idea, not only by screenshot, but also by seeing a live platform very briefly, what such IoT platforms can do, and how that will look like in the interaction of it. So I'm going back to my presentation mode here. And I will talk to you to round this more or less up about sustainability. Okay. As I've done for smart cities and IoT, let me give a definition of sustainability as well. I think the first one is pretty good. It says sustainability is the ability to exist constantly. In our current century, it refers generally to the capacity for the biosphere and the human civilization to coexist. Or, and this is important as well, a low carbon economy, low fossil fuel economy, or decarbonized economy is an economy based on low carbon power sources that therefore has a minimal output of greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere, specifically CO2, carbon dioxide. And this is important for anyone, especially for the newer generations, which I count you into, is that according to the World Economic Forum, it says full decarbonization of our energy systems is the only solution to stabilize our climate. So that is a very important statement, right? So if we are continuing the way we are having our sustainability right now, we will definitely, for 100% sure, and sorry to use these words, but I don't have other word for it, we will screw up our dear planet, right? And that's a very important element where IoT can help us as well to understand how we are using things, what is the pollution, how can we make sure that sustainability is important. And I can tell you that for our company, that's one of our main spear points as well, that we want to be with the lowest and hopefully also a zero footprint as well for CO2, especially in our own data centers by using solar panels, wind power, etc. One of our largest data centers, which we have on the island of Tenerife in Spain, that whole data center, which a big cable has also to the US as well, is fully running on wind and solar energy. So that is already a data center which using as green energy as possible. And I think we should all be participating by doing so. So I have some, to round up this whole session, a couple of sustainability use cases. I will explain 3 of them. A little bit, we saw it already in our demo as well. I will talk about traffic conjunction, pollution monitoring, and green city readiness. So you will see already that is not only something on PowerPoint, but it's something which is happening now, right now into the world as well. So one is traffic conjunction. When we have apps nowadays and you're going to the city as a driver or as an individual, you have the ability with an app or maybe with the software in your car to interact with traffic lights, which is on your path, on your route. And it will allow you to share the state of the traffic light. It will be red or green when you will arrive at that traffic light. So it will help you to understand, oh, if I arrive it will be green, so I can easily go with the flow of the traffic, and that will help with me. But if it's right, the car, but also maybe you as a driver, can help you to manually or automatically moderate your speed. And if you do that, you will less use fuel, better for your wallet, but it's also better for the air quality in the city, especially where a lot of traffic will be centralized as well to make that happen. So IoT definitely will help not only to visualize it, but also to help you to understand what is your participation in this all. Now, we saw already pollution. I mentioned already a couple of times. Pollution is a very important element, and we see more and more people on a global scale will live in a city kind of environment. We are around between 50 and 60%, and that will only grow more and more. And even depending on where you live, if it's in Tokyo or Mexico City or maybe Rio de Janeiro, to mention some big cities with a huge of growth and a lot of people there, that they have to cope with these elements. So as an individual, and we created some apps to help them, and there we will see IoT and technology will help not only the city and the citizen itself to see what is your participation in that, and how can I, if I want to move from location A to location B, technology can help you to say, first I go with my car to a train station, from a train station to the city center, then I will take an e-bike, will park the e-bike there, and the last mile I will walk to my university or to my work to make it happen. And I see on my app, oh my God, I help by doing that. Instead of moving my car from my house to the front door, to the campus itself, I help with, let's say, I'm just making this up, 25% less CO2, which I created by not doing so and using an alternative way from moving from A to B. We are helping cities throughout the world. This is a city in France as well, in Versailles, maybe you heard of it, of the Palace of Versailles. That's the same city. We help them to understand, to be ready for the future, not only for electrical vehicles, but also for autonomous vehicles, to create value add, could be, the calculation of the CO2 emission, or where's my closest parking guidance, so that I don't have to make many rounds to find a spot, maybe reserve a spot or whatever, to help the citizens, but also help to make sure to understand where are e-charging facilities, but also to understand how autonomous vehicles, could be even trams or trains, are moving through the city, and help to solve maybe smart mobility issues, or to support any of these use cases you are seeing here. Very nice solutions here, with a reference architecture which is building up, which I already have shown you. We see FireWire here with ASIP, with all these building blocks which helping to create that. And we are trying, and we see that throughout the market, that there's a lot of state-of-the-art technology and components out there, which have the ability to have coverage by open source, and the feeding of data, maybe even open source data, and data which is free available on the internet, to combine this all to make that happen. And last but not least, has the ability to give you any kind of Q&A and think about a question. How can IoT help you as a student make you smarter? This is a little bit what I talked about you here in this session today, and thank you for having me. I talk about you what are smart cities and give you some definitions in that. Same for IoT, and how IoT and technology can help within that. How platforms and technology is a big part of that. I showed you a couple of our own technologies there, which we are using and is used, on a global scale. And I showed you some use cases in regard of sustainability, and why is that important, and why and how you can be even a part of that yourself as an individual. If you want more information, I have here some URLs about information around, if you want to know more about smart cities or connected vehicles, or a white paper how we are thinking about smart mobility. It's a little bit diverse, other information which I think might be interesting for you. Let me stop here now. I talked already for quite a long time. Let me give and open the ability for any kind of questions or comments or feedback you might have based on this event. Stephano, maybe you can allow, or maybe have any kind of questions there in the chat which you want to share with me.
Yeah. I think it's maybe time to bring back the students here so we can do the discussion. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you want to keep your screen, or I can remove it?
Yeah, I'll remove the screen, and let's just let our cameras open.
Okay, if you want to, I can put it back, okay?
Yeah.
So Jessica, where are you?
Yeah. Hello.
Hey.
So thank you, Roland.
I'm going to call Raul, Stephano, and Danielle is not here. So first, before Jessica, okay, I want to thank you very much for your presentation.
You're
it
welcome.
Was really a pleasure to follow. And
okay.
I have a lot of questions, but I will let the people do it first, and then I come back, okay?
Sure.
Again, Roland, thank you very much. It was, I'm just seeing the comments. People were really interacting here. We've seen some questions.
Do you see any questions which might be good to address?
Yes. I will address.
I see them as well, but they are important.
Portuguese, right?
Okay. I can read it, but I don't understand it.
Yeah. So I think I have a semicolon from Stephano. Okay, just a second. I can do the first one, then you do the second one. Okay, Stephano? The first one that I've seen here, it's about the security, and it's how it's asking. So how it's possible to keep secure when you have so much data available and also online. So how is this process to keep the systems with high security?
Yeah, very, very valid question. To be honest, if there's any form of security, and let's compare it with very simple security on your house, a lock on your house, a camera on your house, an alarm going off on your house, maybe fences in front of your window or your door. At the end, these are all limited security. With other words, if you have the knowledge, the tools, or the technology, you are able to go through any kind of security. So to answer this question is, every day we see data breaches, we see security issues, we see malware, we see hijacking of systems in hospitals, in universities. Some hacker comes in, hacks all the data of all the students in there and say, I want so much money, and then I will release it, right? You see that maybe on a daily basis, or at least on a certain high frequency in the news if you follow any news. So it is a huge issue. So cybersecurity is always an ongoing element to make and secure the data, and therefore also the data privacy itself from people and systems as good as possible. So what does it mean is that we see there's not only one security level, there's always layers of multiple security levels. So it's not only user ID and password, but there's a firewall. There's an extra check with a code you have to give. They will check your IP address where you dial in from. They will check what is your behavior over the system. Are you trying to create something, steal something, download something, delete something? If that behavior is strange, software nowadays can automatically detect that and block you. So to answer the question is, security is always objective, and security is always going in a much more development phase to make it even more better. But unfortunately, there is not 100% security level there, or because of the human, or because of the technology. Do you have another question for me?
Great. Do you want to ask now, Stephano?
Yes. Firstly, Roland, thank you to share your knowledge with us. And when you was talking about the smart cities, I was thought how this concept could be implanted in a Brazilian city like Fortaleza. During the pandemic, it was possible to perceive that people had the most difficult to change their habits, like use a mask when go out home, work at home, stay isolated. And I want to know that the change of people culture is a difficult barrier to implement the smart cities concept in a city.
Right. I think it's always about communication and awareness, right? Of course, in different areas of the world, you have also different human behavior. If you are, and maybe this sounds silly, but that is just true. If you are in a colder environment, people probably like to live more inside and warmer. But if you are living in Brazil, and the behavior and the culture of the people like to go out, live outside, interact with people, be very close to each other, maybe greet each other in a more closer way, maybe kiss or whatever. So technology can help you to create communication, but also awareness. If you bring your phone with you and the phone is beeping, beep, 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 you are in proximity of people who have high levels of people of COVID-19, probably you're thinking, maybe not so smart to go to that club, to that campus, to that city center, to that shop, right? But if there's no communication, no awareness, then it's all people personal behavior, which is hard to change for individuals. Same for me, same for everybody, same for you. So technology, IoT for a smart city, if you are able to share and understand what is going on because it's invisible, right? Then it will help. So if you're coming into a restroom and it will help you to say, and you are washing your hand, and maybe technology is helping you with a red and green light that you have to wash 20 seconds, could be in a hospital, could be even in an airport. Technology is helping you to be aware you only wash 10 seconds instead of 20 seconds. So these are simplistic examples, but it's always a combination of communication and awareness and how technology can help to improve, to cope with a crisis situation like COVID-19. Is that answering your question a little bit?
Yes, yes. But I have another doubt is about the politician. I I was to know if the politicians is the worst barrier to the implants the smart cities concept.
Yeah, that's always a dangerous question, right? If we talk about politics and leaders, etc. So I will not say any comment on that because it will be online. I have, thoughts on that, but I will not share that. But yeah, so in essence, it's about, um, if you are in a certain position, you are there for the people, right? You are chosen to fulfill a role for the people. If you are a police officer, a nurse, a teacher, or whatever, you have that role for a certain purpose. And of course, you get paid for that, or you get that recognition. So, my personal expectation is that if you are in a role as city leaders, that you are in there to leave your stamp, to leave your legacy behind for the city. So, for one mayor, it could be reduce homelessness in the city. For another mayor or commission, could be improve infrastructure so we are not hours and hours and hours in our car from moving from home to work and vice versa. So, it depends on what are the priorities, how can be financed, and how it will help based on the role and the purpose you are fulfilling to help and to support what you are voted for to do and or being paid for to do. So that is a little bit like a diplomatic kind of answer to say that my personal expectation is that I hope and expect that if someone gets a certain role, it will always try to achieve a better way of living for citizens in the city. Hopefully that's answer a part of your question there. Can I have another question, please?
Yes, so Roland, I think then we should stay with the last question. So we have more, but I think the time
Yeah,
wants
you
too
choose
much
one.
to have
Yeah.
to answer all those questions. Okay, so one that I think it's really interesting, also for all of us, it's like as more related to the relationship between this world of technology and if this could bring more inequalities to the society and related to the labor force
Yeah,
and yeah,
very good
a little
question.
bit
I
polemical.
did a podcast and a video on that, and this is a really interesting question. And the bottom line question answer is yes, and I will explain why. We will see if people are in areas where they are less fortunate because of their parents, because of the income, because of the region, because of the location. I can guarantee you that, and we see many examples throughout the world, that technology and even internet, even this simple thing, will allow you to access more information, more capabilities, more skills potential, which can help you to improve your individual situation. So, my personal belief is absolutely technology can help people to be to create a better life for themselves, to be smarter, to interact with people, and to have, and this is kind of cliche, I understand it, to have the world to their feet, right, technology wise, in terms of what information are accessible. And maybe this is all for your time, but not for my time. Before the internet was there, and I was a young guy, I went to the library and get books and get information and knowledge from books and school. But now with the
On my
information
time
which
too.
we oh yeah, what we have now is we have all this ability. Even if I'm in the middle of nowhere, I have technically, if there are connections, of course, the ability to access all kinds of news, all kinds of television, all kinds of information. Of course, there's some fake news and fake information and fake knowledge out there, but at least I have that. And it's up to me how I use technology for myself to be a better person and to make my life and my life for my loved ones better. So my personal belief is definitely a yes. So this was the last question, but let's bring the last question in. I said, how could IoT make you a smarter student? Maybe if you use the chat for anyone who has ideas on that to bring it in, and maybe we can pick out one example there, Jessica, to use that as a kind of wrap up. Is that okay?
Excellent, excellent.
Yes,
Do you see anyone
maybe.
responding on how IoT and technology can help you as a student to make you as a student smarter, whatever that means?
Yeah, that's a big question. That's a really,
It's a
really
deep,
big question.
deep question now.
Yeah. We should take another 2 hours speech
Oh
to
yeah,
talk
you can have a lot of discussion on that, but I was hoping maybe some ideas will pop up in the chat, but I don't see anything yet.
I was wondering if you could say 2 or 3 words about the new skills of these. I imagine that most of our public here, our audience, is engineering students. So we are always trying to improve their formation and their professional formation. Of course, we know that technical skills are important, but there are also other things, and all the technologies that you brought today are very connected to the society, to the humankind way to live. So what can we do for them for improve their formation to be more prepared?
Yeah, technology, right? So it's always very good to interact in person with people, but I think technology, and I know a lot of you will use Facebook or other kind, or I heard WhatsApp and what other kind of collaboration tools to be part of the connected world, right? Even with COVID-19, even if you don't see each other, your world and your network and your brain is not only yours, it's the one which each of you can collaborate with your colleagues working. Jessica are working with 3 or 4 colleagues, which she showed in the slide. You can collaborate with your professors, right? So this device, and I have a big screen because my eyes are not really well anymore, but this screen is so awesome. It can do so many things. It's just incredible. And this will allow me to always be connected, not only with colleagues or whatever, but in essence with the whole world in whatever kind of collaboration platform. And this will allow you, and that's more or less the question also, to be a value add of your community. If you see, for example, an incident or accident happen in your community and you can make a picture and you can upload it for emergency services, how good is to understand what's going on, be part of it, maybe be helpful to understand how that situation involved, etc., etc. You know, here in the United States, we have the big campaigns with Black Lives Matters. A lot of body cams of people with their phones are sharing an additional angle of news, of what the news is bringing or police is bringing or an individual is bringing or whoever is bringing it. It will show us multiple angles where we can contribute, and technology can contribute of information coming from different angles. Maybe the last part is maybe a little bit far-fetched, but hopefully you understand why I have brought that example in as well. Is that answering your question a little bit?
Yeah. Nice answer.
So,
Jessica, maybe it's time for a final word.
yeah. So again, I just want to be thankful for Roland to dedicate this great time with us. I think it gave us a lot of information and also insights, in which is not so easy to find on internet. So it's not really addressed to what IoT can do and how we can implement projects with this. And yeah, thank you very much. I think we have some colleagues that was interacting here, even in English. So we didn't have enough time to bring more questions, but I think it was a great time. Thank you, Stephano.
Yeah,
Thank you,
everybody.
And I only know this word, or I practice this, obrigado. So
Great. That's great.
Thank you, Roland.
Thank you.
Guys, Stephano, Raul, do you want to say something?
Teacher,
agradecer o pessoal que assistiu aí. Muito obrigado aí pela presença de todos.
Obrigado, Raul.
Again, thank you, Roland, to share your knowledge with us. And I learned more about the smart cities with you talking.
Okay, so we are going to say bye-bye to everyone, and hope you enjoyed this conversation. It's our first international guest, so I hope we have more interaction in the future. Thank you,
You become international now.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.